Hi, everyone. Robert Hartline here with Sales Hustle Club. Welcome to this week's episode. Once again, we have David Florence with us. How you doing this morning?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. And
awesome. Yeah, we had a good weekend. You had a good weekend. Just family time. Are you getting enough family time? That's the core question.
Good question. Yeah, I am. But is everybody else watching and listening to this? That is a really good question, isn't it? It is crucial to our development and growth.
Yes, it is. It is. I'm just making sure I got everything set up right. Awesome. So what do we have this week for everyone?
Well, my good man, we will be talking about breathwork. We'll just go into a little bit of detail about what exactly it is, because I think a lot of people have heard the term now. It has become mainstream. But I don't think people necessarily know what it is and why it's been created, where it's created, how long it's been around. We'll ask a few questions. Should everyone do it? We'll talk about some of the benefits, but then we'll link it to specifically sales and entrepreneurship and how you can build certain breath techniques into the corporate space or into simply the working day. So that we're going to be covering quite a bit today on breathwork. A whistle-stop tour. Breathwork 101.
Well, the reason that I have you on the team, in fact, is you are helping our clients really work on themselves, because it does show up in the workplace. How well you are at managing your mental energy. All the Sales Hustle Club calls are all about is our energy to show up. And unfortunately, we don't always wake up with the right level of energy, do we?
Exactly. I mean, and take today as a case in point. I think a lot of people start the week, if they've had a full-on weekend with their children, maybe they've been eating some food that they perhaps shouldn't. Maybe they've been drinking some alcohol. So quite often, although it's the start of the week, we should all be jumping up and down full of energy. But quite often on a Monday morning, we don't feel full on as far as our energy is concerned. So therefore, finding techniques that work for you, that create that energy, would be blooming useful, wouldn't it? Especially for those that they've got to achieve every day.
Yeah, and it's this I guess this constant fluctuation that I tend to feel, and I'm sure others do. And I'm sure it's a lot of different factors that cause this energy fluctuation, whether it's my sleep or something I ate, whether it's some news that I heard, or it's a worry about the future or a regret of the past. But what I have found working with you is the fact that I could be let's say I'm in a negative space right now. I could move to a positive space with just a little bit of effort. With no drugs, no caffeine, no stimulant, or anything that would also have a negative or addictive feature to it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll keep this bit brief because it's not totally in line with the subject matter. But what I talk about a lot is riding the chemical waves, and you can let those chemical waves rule your day, especially when it comes to dopamine. So you can get dopamine dumps if you fall into the trap of doom scrolling. You can get dopamine bursts that act like a ripple effect throughout the day if you learn certain techniques. So therefore, you're making dopamine work for you, not against you. And the problem that we often find now is that with all of the neurochemicals that we've got available in this inner pharmacy, you could call it, an inner pharmacy that we've got in every one of our bodies, is that if we don't know how to make use of them, then actually it's those chemicals that are ruling our day and determining our energy levels. What we can do is take that over and grab some level of control over it.
And so I know a lot of people, when they hear breath work, they're thinking Wim Hof, they're thinking these other modalities that to them, I don't have a cold water plunge, so I can't do this.
Yeah.
But it's not that, is it?
No. I mean, I am I am, and other breathwork instructors are very grateful of Wim Hof, because if it wasn't for him, you and I wouldn't be talking. Um, and so because of him, the term breathwork is now known. It does get attached to, therefore, his feats, his Guinness World Record type feats of swimming under ice. But the specific breathwork that he teaches is just one modality. And that is, it's a combination of pranayama and tumo exercises. Pranayama is Indian in origin. Tumo is Tibetan. And so he's combined both of those practices to create this energetic and forceful breathwork exercise, which is good for most people, not everyone. Breathwork, though, as a collective term, incorporates many of the practices that are yogic by nature. So most breathwork, not all, but most breathwork is Eastern in origin. So either Indian, Chinese, Japanese, it's typically East Asian, and is thousands of years old. And a lot of the breathwork that I teach and other people are aware of actually comes from yoga, and the practices that have been created for those many thousands of years or hundreds of years. Breathwork, though, should be considered thus. It is a tool that can optimize mind and body, can bring you into sync, into the natural rhythms of the body. But put it really simply, there is breathwork, therefore, for creating energy, so making you feel better, giving you a lift at the beginning of the day. In fact, there's a particular breathwork exercise that I call breath coffee, because it is just like taking a shot or of espresso. But then there's equal breathwork practices for calming you down as well. What I'm discovering is that because of the Wim Hof method and its attractive marketing pull, a lot of people are just using that technique. The problem with that is that is a stressor on the body. Now, what we know about stress is that in short bouts, stress is good for us. All stress is good for us. However, we do need equal amounts of the opposite. We need parasympathetic calming practices as well. We need time to recover, to repair. And if all you're doing is many rounds of this Wim Hof method every day, it could actually make your life different. It could actually exacerbate any mental conditions you've got or physiological. So what I teach is a combination of different practices, some of which you will find actually in the Sales Hustle Challenge.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, everyone, what the Sales Hustle Challenge is basically 60 days of a commitment to a goal, and then take away something from your life that's not serving you, a vice. That could be doomsday scrolling. It could be Netflix. It could be reading news. It could be porn. It could be sitting down and watching the TV. I mean, it could be playing video games. Anything that you know is a general waste of your effort or energy, and then replace it with something that could be viewed as positive, like reading or taking an online course, or it could be exercise or a walk, or just phoning a friend. A new vice in a new replacement to that vice into your circle. And then it's a daily practice of some breath work. And we have worked with Dave Florence to record several different videos and audios for you to consume to help you with this practice of daily breath work. And it's just a way to kind of reset and get ready for different types of situations in your day, whether starting your day or you're in a sales situation or you've gotten rejected and you need to pick your energy back up. And then you go to our website, fill out a form every single night as a way for you to exercise just your thoughts, putting them out there into a daily journal practice, and doing that for 60 days and seeing if you have a lift with not only your mental health, but your income, your sales, what you could achieve if you took away something bad and you added something good and you got in the habit of these disciplines. I mean, selling is only disciplines done every single day and you will see a massive shift. You know, a lot of people spend mental energy in the worry of not hitting their quota. And if you worry in not hitting your quota, often you will actually not hit your quota in the worry. And so this is a different type of practice to start working through. And so, you know, beyond, so I guess some of the basic health benefits, what are some other benefits that you see, David?
Well, for me, when I started back in 2017, within 3 months, I'd noticed a cognitive shift. I noticed that I'd suddenly developed an insatiable appetite for learning. I noticed that I started to remember more. There's now enough research, actually, and the research will continue. But there's some really good research to indicate that your cognitive memory, your memory rather, especially spatial memory, improves through certain times of breath work. So that's, I mean, that would be amazing, wouldn't it, for salespeople? Not only are you going to therefore feel damn good. And by the way, within the first 3 months of doing, at the time, it was a lot of Wim Hof. I was singing from the rooftops. I was, I wanted to get out of my car and run down the streets, shouting, everybody should do breath work because, I just felt so good. And so if you imagine, you often talk about this, Robert, the sales obviously is energy, and it's about being in a really good positive energy. When you're in that state, things happen. You don't have to worry about the quota at the end of the month. You don't have to worry about how much money you're going to make. You are just going to be in flow. When you're in flow, all of that goes out the window and everything just happens. Now, when it comes to breath work, you can also do such things as rebalance the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is everything that happens automatically, your heart rate, your blood pressure, everything that just goes on without you even thinking about it. We now know through breath work, you can grab some level of control of that. If you know you've got high blood pressure, for example, it can be really useful to learn breath work. It's not an absolute panacea, of course. It's not a cure-all. But it is a practice that everybody should build into their life. Certain practices, though, you need to be mindful of. For example, if you suffer from COPD, if you suffer from heart arrhythmia, then there are certain breath practices you shouldn't do. And in fact, the Wim Hof method is one of those because it's too much of a stress on the body. However, there will always be breath work out there for somebody, because some of it is just so simple and yet immediately calms you down. It just calms down the nervous system. And I think when you think about the life of a salesperson, it can be, a bit up and down. You ride those highs, but sometimes that after the highs, there's going to be a bit of a low. If you knew therefore a technique, especially, like we were talking about this Monday morning, if you knew a technique that could just lift you, a bit like the one that we did earlier, it's just a short technique of what's called Kapalbhati. That technique just gives you a little bit of a lift. If we continued that, by the way, Robert, we could have done some extra things around giving you a further cognitive boost. There are techniques that are really good when you are in stress or anxious. The physiological sigh would be a really, really good example of that. So let's talk about that very briefly, and I'll describe it because I think this is useful. Let's say before a sales meeting, and it's a meeting it's got to go well. In your mind, you've already started to get a bit anxious about it because you're thinking, if this one doesn't land, that's it. So you want to be in the right mind state. Well, I guess with a lot of breath work, it does require practice. But for this following breath technique, it's easy to remember. Everybody can do it. And you don't have to write anything down. It is very, very simple. And it's called the physiological sigh. And this physiological sigh will actually calm down the mind and the body. It will put you into a really good state if you're beginning to feel some level of anxiety, if the stress response is beginning to kick in. And it's this. All you're doing is inhaling, then a secondary burst of inhale, and then long, slow exhale. And you're blowing, by the way, as if you're blowing through a straw. You're blowing out as if you're blowing through a straw, so a tiny hole on your mouth. And the reason why we do that is that it gives you extra control about exhaling slowly. So again, all it is a big inhale through the nose. So and then a secondary burst inhale, and then really long, really slow. And in many respects, I'm doing it too fast. So you want to just make that a nice, long, slow exhale. And you do that, say, 3 or 4 times, and you'll notice a shift in the mind and the body. And that extra burst, by the way, after you've done the first inhale, that extra burst inhale actually moves the oxygen into the capillaries of the lungs where you need it. So it just gives your lungs this extra power. You're moving the oxygen into where you need it. And then the long, slow exhale is what we call parasympathetic. So the long, slow exhale will calm you down. And that is it. Physiological sigh.
Wow. Well, something that's real common for salespeople is in the afternoons. They had lunch with a client. They filled up with a bunch of carbs and maybe some sugars. And it's now 1:30 and they're hardly keeping their eyes open, and they got people to visit and sales to make and cold visits. And what do you recommend in that scenario?
Okay, the following is a really good one. Be careful with it. You don't want to do this one too much. In the same way, you don't want to drink too much coffee. I see everything as having a purpose. Every drug has a purpose, and that includes alcohol. I see everything as having a purpose. Every breath technique has a purpose. But just like some things in life, you have to go easy with it. And this is one of those. This will give you a shot of energy, and it's called the 6-2 breathing technique. You can do this, by the way, either using your nose as an inhale or your mouth. Now, typically in breathwork, we reinforce the point that you want to use your nose predominantly in most things. And actually, if you can train yourself to use your nose breathing in exercise, you're going to see some profound benefits on the mind and the body. But in some breath exercises, we say it's okay to use your mouth because actually you get more of a sympathetic response. Sympathetic is the opposite of parasympathetic. Sympathetic is your go, action, heart rate increase, blood pressure increase, which is why, again, you have to be careful with this. So first off, I would say if you are somebody that eats a lot of carbs at lunch, stop it. Just, it's just not worth it. Leave your carbs to the end of the day. I promise you'll see a big difference in your life. But anyway, I'm not a nutritionist. That's all I'm going to say. It benefited me, and I'm sure it will benefit you. If, however, you have, then of course you're going to have a crash. Before you reach for that coffee, try this technique. Again, it's called the 6-2, and it's called the 6-2 breathing technique because you're breathing in for 6 seconds or 6 beats. And again, either through the nose or through the mouth, and then you're exhaling for 2, and then you're repeating. It's a seamless practice. So every time you inhale, there's no pause before the exhale. Every time you exhale, there's no pause before you inhale. So I'll give you an example. I'll do it with my mouth. So it's this. So already I'm beginning to start feeling some response on the body, actually, even just with that. So you don't want to do it too much. Say about 10 of those. And then what you can do is a bit like we did earlier, Robert. We inhaled, exhale, hold our breath, and then inhale, hold our breath again. Say for about 10, 15 seconds, exhale, and done. So if you'd like, we can do that together now, if you like, and give you a little bit
let's
of a
do
breath
that.
coffee.
Yeah, let's do it.
So do you want to do it through your mouth as well, like me?
Explain it one more time for our audience.
Okay, so it's in for 6, out for 2, in for 6, out for 10 for 2. Repeat that 10 times. Again, you can go on a little bit longer. Today we'll play it safe. We'll just do it 10 times. And then inhale, exhale, hold. Say hold your breath for 10, 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. And then inhale, hold your breath again for between 10 and 20 seconds. Exhale, you're done. So I'm going to use my mouth. I quite like the feeling that I'm about to get. You can use your nose or your mouth. And I'll count you down from 3. Remember, in for 6, out for 2. Because we're on Zoom, there may be a bit of, we may not sync together. We might be out by a couple of seconds, but it doesn't matter. Okay, remember 10 times. In for 6, out for 2. Inhale, exhale, hold. Inhale, hold. Exhale, done. I'm going to do it standing up, by the way. I recommend most people don't do it standing up because if you feel a bit lightheaded and dizzy, it's probably not a good idea. So I would suggest most people do it sat down. I've done it lots. I know what I'm doing and I know what if I'm about to pass out. So, okay, are you ready? In
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1. In all the way. Out all the way. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale.
What's wild is all the heat you feel.
Oh,
So
yeah.
lots of heat. I feel like, dude, I feel like I'm ready to make that next phone call.
It's good, you know. Again, you got to be careful with it. Just experiment with it. Take it easy. Always with all breath work, don't go all in. You know, just start to listen to your body. Know what it feels like. Do it sat down or laying down.
Hey, question. So you've created a bunch of videos for us. Talk about the videos that we have available for people to use right now to experience this.
So what we've done is we've created a combination of something called the Gamma Mindset Technique and Breathwork. The combination is really, really powerful. The Gamma Mindset Technique is an incredible piece of psychological practice whereby you are effectively rewiring templates in the brain. We all have self-limiting beliefs. It doesn't matter what they are. It could be to do with your job, could be to do with your role as parent, could be to do with your friends. Doesn't matter what it is, but you can make use of this technique both for removing self-limiting beliefs as well as creating an intention. You can use it for both. And so you've got an option. This is a 10-minute technique. It requires you to sit there, be guided by my voice around this technique. And it's a bit like a mantra. There's a specific technique where you're moving your arms and your legs in a particular way. You're crossing them, and then you're repeating this mantra. It lasts for 10 minutes, and then that rolls straight into some breath work. Now, what's really interesting about this breath work is that every week it's different. We start off easy. Every one of these breathwork practices will leave you in a very positive state, and we're going to build you up throughout the challenge to more challenging breathwork exercises that are all good. They're all positive, but you just need to sort of practice a few techniques, simple techniques initially, and that's what we're doing with this challenge. So you'll be able to, but certainly by the end of the challenge, have a toolbox, an imaginary toolbox of different breath techniques that you can use throughout your working day.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I appreciate you joining us today. If you are interested in the Sales Hustle Challenge, go visit callproof.com/60-day challenge. And we'd love to have you into the challenge to see what you can make into your sales world. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic sales week.